Alcoholic. I never got to do this before, but I'm here today to introduce your speaker for this speaker meeting. I first met Mick it's either 3 or 4 years ago up in Whitefish at Sober Ski. Sober Ski, for those of you that aren't familiar, is an annual event and a gathering of 30 to 40, sometimes 50 individuals that are all members of this program that absolutely insist on enjoying life. And that's my experience of Mick. He's an individual that absolutely insists on enjoying life. I know that as I've progressed in the 12 steps and in spiritual growth, the doors that have opened to me have been numerous and beyond anything that I could have done for myself. And as I've gotten to know Mick over these past few years, I've seen that there have been doors that have opened in his life all over the world. He's a well-traveled individual and somebody that loves to create experiences for other people and with other people. And he's recently moved here to Missoula and taken on a chaplain position with a hospice organization that um, really brings that the open spiritual practice that we have here in AA to people from all walks of life, especially in end of life care. And so join me in welcoming Mick S. to the podium.
So if I was sitting down, I would be twice as more relaxed, but there's something about the podium that I volunteered for this today. My name is Mick and I'm an alcoholic. It's really just take a second and just see all you guys. You guys are really wonderful. You look good today, so I must be doing all right. Because when I'm not doing all right, you don't look good. This and that and the other thing, but really when I'm doing okay, like everybody around me is pretty okay. Even if they're not doing okay, I'm okay with it, you know. Like as an alcoholic, this how other people thought, acted, talked towards me or about me or whatever, other people dictated so much of who I was or what I said or how I acted myself. I was so sensitive to other people's opinions of me, and I gauged myself by, how people looked, and I either, a lot of times I just didn't add up, right? So I know we've all heard about that in alcoholism. So today I volunteered for this. I volunteered for this feeling of being a little nervous, being put on the spot, being a little vulnerable. But I asked for it, asked for it. Um, because I know what the results is if I do it. I just moved here. I don't know a lot of people. Those two guys have been some good friends for me coming into a new community. And like it's a bigger town. I moved here from Columbia Falls, and we have kind of one hall. It's really fun, but it's the same people. And when summer does come, it's so great that like somebody just says something new because when you go to a small meeting over a long period of time, you kind of know you might hear a new story, but it's in the same line of, our style of AA. So getting new people to come in. So for all the new people, whatever brought you here, wherever you're here, if you if we have time at the end of the meeting, if you go to another meeting, please speak up. It's so fresh. It's just a different perspective. And if you're on vacation, it's probably a positive perspective. So it's good to see that. I um sometimes I like to say I'm not an alcoholic. My dad was. And I struggled. I was really leery and cautious of alcohol when I was young and those I didn't know my dad was an alcoholic till he actually said it because it's so normal to live in an alcoholic home where people drink. You don't label that as alcoholism. What I noticed is when I went to other kids' houses, it was different in their house. And my dad's name, like all my friends growing up called him Big Mike because they were all scared of him. Like he would just walk, alcoholic, and you never know what Mike you were gonna get. So, you know, um, so I knew something was different growing up, but I didn't know it was alcoholism. And one of the first times I drank, I blacked out really easily, really quickly. So I found better management, like buzz management. I could manage my euphoric feelings better using substances. However, and I'll just kind of like explain this a little bit, is that I got sober in Vermont. Vermont didn't have NA. And Vermont, it was a rural area. We just, one town had one meeting, one day of the week. You had to kind of drive around, and it was AA, and it was, and just in that community. So this was like northern, up on the Canadian border, northern Vermont, and I grew up back east. Really quickly, they just say, whatever you did, it doesn't matter. Just substitute the word alcohol or alcoholism and leave all the rest out. You know, like we're not here to like compare. There's no comparison. You know, like there's no, I did this and you did that. And I found really over time, like, you know, whatever the style or brand, if you're a wine drinker, a beer drinker, it still whittles down to we're alcoholic. And I really, this was like the first couple of months in my sobriety that I substituted that. And then I started to realize, what would a life be like where I could go in and buy my favorite festivity substances in any gas station and grocery store? And then I realized the magnitude of alcoholism, and I stopped putting myself in some kind of false belief that because I used hard substances or whatever it was, that like I was some kind of hardcore. You know, when you're insecure about yourself, like I was, you know, I had to like early in sobriety, like identify, like I had to make myself out to be something bigger, better, and badder than I really was. And AA has a beautiful way of kindly humbling us into the fact that I was just kind of an alcoholic. Really nice thought that I didn't have to be some kind of gangster, something or another. I had a counselor uh, in Vermont that said, you got to make up your mind, you know, are you Little House on the Prairie or Miami Vice? You know, I live these two extreme lifestyles of running, you know, running housing projects in inner city, and, you know, because of that side of alcoholism. And then I would have to retreat back home to like rural areas to like physically not be able to obtain what I craved and desired. It was like a good 8 hour, you know, compulsion tamper. I can't tell you how many times I got into a car and drove in the middle of the night, you know, to wherever I had to go, to an urban area. And so alcohol was the very last resort to handle and cope with my feelings. And you know, it's like we all did things in our desperate moments, and mine was drinking alcohol until I passed out because I was like sick or miserable or whatever it was. So I owe my life, and I'll say that, and anything I say today, you know, it's just my story. It's all it is, you know, but I owe my life to the corrections facility. I owe my life to police officers. I owe my life to the people I resented and hated the most. Prison guards, I did penitentiary time before the age of 20. Before I got sober, I was 20. I've never had a legal drink in my life. Yeah, it's pretty cool to say. But when you're when you're serving it's not like going to jail for the weekend, like when you've been sentenced and you're serving time. Uh, it's a different game, and I remember the sound of a steel door shutting in a correctional facility. Like it was like the first time in my life there was nothing I could say that was going to make them open the door. I didn't like that feeling. Like I could call somebody, say something, do something, go over here, run away, run at them, whatever it was to manipulate. And those doors don't open with my magic words, or my sad story, sympathy seeking or whatever it was. Cause we became, but I'll say I became quite masterful at getting people, into my desires, alcoholism, get you on board with me. Was like the goal to meet my needs to remain inebriated, right? It's like, whew, it's like full-time job. God, it's exhausting just standing here and talking. So I hitchhiked to Montana sober, out of the correction facility. At that time, I still had a resentment towards authority figures. I love them. If somebody stole my car, you know who I'm going to call? I'm going to call the police. Imagine that. And they're going to come and try to help me. It's wonderful to have a total 180 to the fact that they're protect and serve. Like I actually believe that, like for the most part. I'm not saying that judgment is perfect or whatever, or they might stereotype me or I don't know, whatever, but it's like, what a freedom to stop fighting everything and everyone because I have an opinion about it. Stop fighting everything and everyone because I had a bad experience with something even remotely similar to what's coming out of your mouth and what you're telling me. Because I would make everything anybody had to say about me. And this is in sobriety. So this cease fighting everything and everyone is like, how far can I take that? If somebody's yelling at me, calling me names, cease fighting everything and everyone. Somebody ripped me off or pay me for a job I did, cease fighting everything and everyone. Acceptance is our code. It seemed right now as I'm standing here, but I'll still say some days I have to work at it, but it seems like I have to protect myself, and I still do it with, control or being industrious or how I word things. I mean, it's just part of that human nature, but to really, really everything and anything to kind of offer this, at least an idea when I'm struggling with something that God is all, there is nothing. So I'll take the all and kind of what's my part to play in this. And it makes life really easy, that to like let go of the belief that this world's out to get me, people are out to get me, Big Mike's out to get me, right? Like a lot of that stuff we believe about this world comes from alcoholic home, family values and beliefs. Thanks for coming, ACOA. Yeah, it's awesome, CODA 2, CODA. All right. Yeah. What is CODA? CODA. Got it. Yeah, I had to switch gears. Regardless, that's pretty cool. So I hitchhiked to Montana as a felon. It's not really something I bring up in my job interviews, but fortunately I was in another country. It doesn't come up. What a godsend. I happened to be in another country that didn't register with the US, and I didn't serve my whole sentence because one day they decided I was American and they weren't, and they deported me in a jumpsuit and full shackles. Dropped me off. They took the shackles off, but I did have the jumpsuit. And it wasn't a bright orange jumpsuit. Like that would be a cool story, right? Like orange is the new black, the guy hitchhiking. But anyway, you know, I made it home and I'd been to AA, I'd been to rehabs and all kinds of stuff. And I had a sponsor. He said to me, "You look ready. Let's do some work." Why he said it that day and not another day, or because every attempt to get sober is so sincere because of pain. I'll do anything until I start to feel better. And then, well, but not that kind of thing. So we started working. And for the first year, I would say, you know, a lot of me not falling into old behavior was just like, I didn't want to disappoint this guy. He was like totally cool. It's like somebody I could see myself living like if I actually didn't use or drink. He was a role model, not just a sponsor. And he was about Big Mike's age. And so he kind of filled this role for me that was unspoken. It was like magic. Sponsorship is pretty amazing. And everybody has different brands and styles, but we all, and I'll say this on a cultural level, not, you know, I'm not speaking for anybody here, but I believe we all need mentors and guides, whether it's an AA, a workplace, parenting. I needed role models and guides to learn how to parent. I never parented before. You have the first one, you're like, what do I do with this? Somebody show me how, you know? And, you know, so role models and guides and sages and mentors, and, you know, these are like, I've come to really value that by learning through AA what that meant. I came I had a year when I moved to Montana, Helena, for about 12 years, and I've been in Columbia Falls for about 15. I can't remember exactly. And that little house on the prairie side of me, not the Miami Vice side, like I feel like living in Missoula compared to Columbia Falls is like Miami Vice. We saw 3 cops drive doing something, you know, and it's Sunday morning. I said something to Demetrius, like, oh, he said, yeah, that's Saturday night spilling into Sunday morning right there. So I'm in a bigger town, but I found a community of people that I pray with. I found a faith and belief, and I don't have to put a name on it at all. I have to tell you, hour for hour, day for day, my entire sobriety, I'm completely immersed and surrounded by my spiritual community. And I realize not everybody finds that. Um, I see it in churches when people get active in churches, meditation groups. You know, again, the religion maybe isn't as important as the value of a spiritual community where those people in that spiritual community allowed me to practice prayer out loud. That's not a scripture type prayer. So when we all say the Lord's Prayer at the end of the meeting, that's a good prayer. Good one. That's a good one. But it's not my prayer, my intimate prayer of the deepest, most sincere things that I desire when I get to my point where I'm going to talk and visit with my God. That's intimate. That's an intimate prayer to me. So to have a community to share that most intimate part of me has been invaluable in life. And when I found that, all I wanted was to be more a part of that. So AA meets those. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, even I found elk hunting season is like some kind of spiritual, you know, like people who go out and elk hunt, you know, is like, you know, is people who go fishing, sober ski, play music. You know, there's a lot of forms of this that doesn't have to just be prayer, but mine just happened to be prayer. Pray. I like to pray. I like to pray. I learned how to pray in AA. And then with this community, it took me farther all the way to the point where on Friday, so this is my story. On Friday, I prayed with a woman out loud with their family, the nurses, a neighbor. I prayed her right to her last breath. And it was beautiful. It takes sometimes alcoholics, I think there's a false belief in AA that somehow we capitalize on pain in our lives, or like if you took a group of people on the planet, like we have the worst lives and we have the worst relationships. I don't I don't really um I respect that opinion, but I really don't subscribe to it. Um is that we're really sensitive to difficult times and pain and loss. But really, the human experience is equal upon all human beings. And I get to kind of work within an experience that we will all have in life and to share that with other people. And somehow, some way in the AA literature, it talks about when you're getting into step 2 and 3 about somehow, some way, people, agnostic, atheist, regardless, have some fundamental feeling that there's greatness above us. You know, there's something greater than us, you know. And when our breath comes to the last breaths that we will take, um, you know, there's I guess I see people outside of their intellectual selves that say I'm an agnostic, atheist, or religion is this and spirituality is that. And they just want some good words. They want some words of beauty, words of truth, words of well-being, to realize that anything in life that's worthwhile, and I learned this in AA, the harder I work, the more I come to AA, the more I work the steps, guaranteed things somehow get better in my life and I feel better about my life. I've never had that equation, and I've been testing it for a little while. That is kind of like life. If we work towards something, the outcomes might not be what we're looking for, but working towards that in that last day or that last breath, it's hard work. I watch it all the time, so it's hard work. But it's I have to believe it's worth it. But for me, it takes a death to know what life is worth and how precious it is. I'm glad I came in with a teaching and a discipline in this program of gratitude. Gratitude is like mentioned, spoken here, and to come in and really be like, I have to remind myself of the things that I'm grateful for, and then also after I be grateful, then being done some gratefulness thinking or perception checking, to realize there's it's endless. A gratitude is endless, completely endless. I'm not like, oh, it's just so grateful for that breath. Oh, and that breath, you know. The meditation helps people kind of with those types of awarenesses to break it down to our most simplest um, being, you know, of how beautiful everything is around us. So my dad, he's a step. I call him. He's my stepdad, and my stepdad. When I came to Montana, and I had several brothers, and we all had dad um, in the, and we were all young, and we were trying to help each other out, stay sober, stay out of trouble. And my dad is Navajo, and he'd always teach us, always teach us. He would say, "Hojon Hionahe." He would say, "Walk in beauty." Beauty. That was his word. I don't know if that's really spoken in AA or not. If anybody knows if the word beauty is used in literature, then I can reference it. But I hold on to that it is my job, not your job. And it might not be what you want for yourself, but it is my job to, even in my dreams and sleep, to see the beauty in this life. And I have a choice with everything that comes to me throughout the day of every second of the day, I have a choice where I can choose to see the negative of it, what's going to go wrong with it, what's not right with it. And I call that, I term that as that's Big Mike in my brain, right? Like, oh, knock it off, Big Mike. So it's not just my dad. It's a little part of me that is not okay with life. And then everything that comes up, I might not understand it, but I don't have to judge it and criticize it. God doesn't need that help, because what I'm doing, and this is in our literature, is I'm judging and criticizing God's world. And for some reason, we have suffering in this world. But my suffering, the depth of my misery, is the gauge of my success and joy today. I can't have what I have today unless I went to the depths of alcoholism and addiction and shame, torture. I'm not who I am today. So I don't know why, but I try to really let go. We got politics coming up. Whatever, I just, it's just entertaining. It's just like some of the things these guys say, and I don't have to go into state of affairs, right now, currently, I'm working with, just checking the time. Right now, currently, I'm working with traffic in Missoula. I've lived 20 years with no traffic. Every stoplight is a chance to say a small prayer. And I might get to like 2 stoplights after I've gone through 6, and I see myself kind of getting caught up in like, and like I'm getting worked up. Okay, I gotta it's Missoula. There's just traffic here. People who move here, thank you so much for visiting. I do get it makes me sad when I see propaganda about how Montanans don't want you here. I will let you know the majority of the Montanans I know, when somebody comes to their home or their neighborhood, they're kind people. They welcome them. They say something positive. Thanks for coming. Nice poodle dog, whatever it is they came with and whatever they're doing. It's only when we're driving that we're like, hey, Californians, like that's not good for my soul. But Montanans are kind people. So if something went down apocalyptically, I want Montanans on my back, because we're good people. We really are good people. And that propaganda just comes from fear. We know what fear does to us. I don't know what fear does to other people, but fear can cripple me. Fear puts me into, defensive modes, critical modes, judgmental modes. I got to do something modes, fix it modes. I'm going to tell you modes. And I walk away from each and every one of those not feeling good. I am an alcoholic, which means I like to feel good. And if there's a good, I'd like to feel better. But I can't quite. It's not so much I feel better when I use drugs or alcohol. It's just kind of quicker. It's just kind of like, and it's basically, we were talking about money last night. It's just like, like money doesn't, the Beatles, can't buy me love. Like you can't really, money is a sacrifice to work for money very hard, but it's just kind of like a quick kind of, there's an expectation that it's going to come quick. You're going to get it, you buy it, you get it kind of stuff. Whereas like here, the stuff that really matters has no price tag on it in AA. We don't even really we don't get into like big debates even about money. We don't have dues, we don't have fees. Like we kind of just let that go and make sure we can just keep the rooms open. No more, no less. There's a reason for that, And what we do in here is we do the work and we work for what we receive. At the beginning of sobriety, I love God shots. They keep you coming. They kept me coming. It was like the growth was quick and you're like, wow, you get things back. So, you know, and then after time in the program, you got to kind of work harder for those, that good stuff. And so the good stuff that is manifested in my life, where I've been gifted or blessed, it didn't just, I wasn't just in my living room, or just hanging out in a meeting and somebody came over and said, here, like I had to do something. I had to engage a godly world to kind of not stay stuck, to keep growing, to keep moving forward. And I do have an adventurous spirit, so that might be my vice side of me. And I made it. I worked internationally, and this is in sobriety. I worked internationally. I worked for universities. I started a group. I've done sober international groups. We have one in the fall going to. I've been taking sober groups all over the world, sober people, and I'll put a flyer out. But how do I do that? Because like I make money off of it. But anyway, we fill it up with sober people because a lot of times sober people want to travel, and we like hanging out with other sober people. So we have one coming to Egypt in the fall. So and I've done them all over the world, and so there's a cultural component to there's a cultural and a spiritual component to my recovery today. I've formed deep and meaningful relationships with non-Christian societies around the world, and have engaged in those conversations with minimal to no arguing whatsoever. And most recently, so a year ago right now, I was in Pakistan for the summer, Kandahar, Kashmir. So these are all heavily, these are Muslim nations and Muslim states. And man, some really cool people. And there's some propaganda telling us otherwise, because man, there's some beautiful people. Pakistan. When I say Pakistan, I don't know how you feel about that word or what you envision. I will let you know through this program. I mean, I don't go like looking for, trouble, and, I'm not looking for trouble, but word was people there are kind of kind, like Montanans. And I went, and I would have to say I've been around the world a dozen times plus for work or enjoyment, and I have not met kinder people in the world. Kinder people. And the faith that they follow, and the little things they would share with me. Now it looks different. It's addressed different. It's in a different language. But I realized there was something I had to overcome. And this was AA at work. AA at work. When somebody comes in the door, how do I not have a thought, oh, they look rough. Oh, they must be drinking. Oh, look at that, right? That's like, I mean, I can't completely shut that off, that I evaluate people in the world around me constantly. But I went there with this image that I saw probably just on the news, or probably movies, Hollywood. Do you know they make movies that are not accurate to real life? But I watch them as if they are. And then all of a sudden I have some opinion about it, as if I'm some kind of collegiate scholar on, you know, whatever I saw in a movie. It's a documentary. Like I am like wise science documentary watcher. So I have these impressions. I have an impression of when somebody comes in and they're looking rough, you know. Do I, like my sponsor, say, you look ready? I'm going to come to your house and pick you up tomorrow. We're going to talk about some things. Or do I kind of look at him and be like, if I brought him in the house, they might steal something. both could be true. How do I know how to do that? You know, so these impressions that I have in my mind, I went to Pakistan, and the one was, I don't know where it comes from, but the red beard, the Islam beard, and just the hat and the Islam beard, and kind of like smaller eyes, eye proportion to Caucasian people and people here in the U.S. And I was like, they want to kill me. And they're really stern. And I'll tell you a story. So I was in Lahore, Pakistan, which is like, oh, I don't know if you've ever been a place. For those of you, some of you experience it every day, some of you might not. But being a minority is a spiritual experience when you are not the same as other people, right, around you. And I went to a mosque, and I went in the mosque because somebody said, sure, you can go in the mosque, like the taxi driver or whoever it was. I was like, cool, it was really old and ancient, like, cool. And I went in there, and I got stared down. Like, I was like, uh-oh. Like, seriously, I was just like, I'm in the wrong place, and I'm in the wrong country, and I am the wrong color. And what am I, so I just kind of like, just trying to peace out, and one of the guys, he wasn't the meanest mugging guy in the room, and they were all dressed in Islamic robe, in it's it's kind of like a man dress. I wish we wore man dresses here. It's like pajamas, and then you can just strut around all day in your pajamas. It looks so comfortable. But so the man pajama men with the red beards came up to me, and I was just like, oh man. And he was like, hello. And they spoke English. They spoke English because of the Indian occupation. This is about sobriety. And I learned this in AA. They came up, what are you doing? Okay. Why are you here? It's like, oh, like, and I was like, well, I just heard Pakistan was really nice. And, whatever I said to him, I'm still trying to like kind of peace out. And wow, thanks for coming. Like, what is it about here that you wanted to come? I said, well, it's, the beautiful architecture. He's like, oh, well, let me show you. So then number two, me and Mugger came out of the mosque, and we're on the front steps. Number 4, number 5, number 6. And then we sat down, and we must have had 10 full grown mean mugging men who want to kill me, now doing selfies, not asking me for money. I think I got 2 dinner invites, a couple, let's go have teas. And it was like the most beautiful experience I ever had. But what if I held on to that fear? Again, I'm not going to say just go anywhere you want in Pakistan and act anywhere. I'm not saying that. I was using my common sense. But fear can cripple our ability to see beauty. Cripple it. And it's usually based on what we call the self-centered thinking, is that I'm going to base all my judgments on my self-centeredness, which means what I know and experienced and think. And it applies to the whole world around me. So we say selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. We know self-seeking. I want what I want. Selfish, everything's about me. Self-centered is a perception about me, kind of, relate everything to the world about me, self-centered. A lot of my fears, I thought I was more like, in sobriety, even in sobriety, like that selfish me. And I really found that the core of my character defects were based in self-centeredness and how I perceive the world around me, based on, from a lot of it, bad experiences. Like, why would I base that on bad experiences rather than I've been to like 40 other countries in the world and had great experiences, but I'm basing these guys you know, on something I saw on a TV show or something. So anyway, I just want to use that as an example of how AA has permeated through my whole life around the entire world. I don't go into other countries and cultures, kind of with like, I guess you have to go in and realize there's things I'm going to not understand. But it's a nice way to kind of go into my days and be like, there's going to be things all day long I don't understand. How do I address that and approach that? I don't understand why this guy is driving right behind me and honking his horn. I don't understand why, you know, there's difficulties or, homelessness. I don't understand. This place down the road is, and this is just my belief, it's like whoever decided to put this club this close to the path is godly. Godly. And then I walked in the door and it says, Hope lives here. I think hope comes and hangs out for donuts and coffee here, not to, discount. But if you really want to find hope like when you're down the lowest, like that where you want to like do something rash kind of low. That's over there. And what gets somebody up and out of the bed and maybe walk over here? That's like that hope, although it's really jaded, it shines. That's it. That's hope. AA. And there's a fella in here that I saw last week who looked rough, not a happy camper. And they're in here today. Oh, God, that's so amazing. What would get somebody up and out of bed to come here Sunday morning? So I had gone to meetings before where I was hungry and it was a birthday meeting. I was like, I don't really want to go to the meeting, but I'll eat the cake, like cookies. And, sometimes that's the best you get at a meeting in early sobriety and, a little conversation. But, like, why did I come back? I don't know. One of the reasons that I can guess, I've tried AA many times. I knew the steps, and this is all from, teenage years on. And what was different about this time as opposed to last time or the times before that? I had sponsors in place. I was in trouble. Could it be the incarceration? And no, I've been in trouble. So this is what happened this time. I was sitting on the side of my bed and I was going through like a very physical withdrawal. And I slipped off the side of the bed onto my knees. And whatever it was, it just kind of like, and I started to cry and I said one word and it was help. It was a prayer. So the best prayer I've mustered up in this life was a one word prayer, but it had the sincerity. It had whatever it was, that one prayer contained a universe of possibilities in one prayer. So it's some prayers are good on the quality, some prayers are good on the quantity, some are a nice blend of the both. But I really believe that prayer is about that sincerity, like what it really means to me. And in that moment, I meant it. I need help. I need help in that physical, like DTs and all that kind of stuff. Like it's so anguish, right? Torture. For those who have been through any type of withdrawal from a substance, it's brutal. And it helped me say that one prayer where I really meant it. And I wasn't cognitive enough, or I really didn't care enough to like then be like, help, I need this. Help, I need this. It was just like it ended there. Help. And whatever is whatever. I would have nobody in AA, this is crazy. Nobody in AA ever asked me to do anything absurd. I didn't have to do the laundry or, like I didn't have to like go to my sponsor's house and paint his, I didn't have to. Nobody asked me to do anything absurd. But all the way up to when I finally jumped in the deep end of the pool, I guess you could say, I always felt like y'all were asking me to do something that was totally out of line and unacceptable. Like someday, Freaky Bob is going to ask something freaky from me, or someday, we had a guy, his name, he used to bring he didn't bring it into the meeting, but he used to like show off his guns after the meeting, Vermont, Montana, whatever. And we called him Magnum Dave because he had one of those long barrel magnums. And it's just like Magnum Dave, like, like Magnum Dave's going to like, I don't know, do something, like ask me to do something. Whatever. I don't know, it's so easy to, when you don't know why somebody's doing what they're doing, I guess our minds are just designed as, it's not necessarily a character defect to kind of wonder why. And then I have to fill in the blanks based on, some experiences I had growing up and living as an alcoholic and an addict. And those spaces I fill in, just, I want to rewrite those spaces and kind of put a godly perspective on it. In our literature, how would God see this? Boy, if I could hold that thought through the, even a portion of my day as I'm rolling through my day, and that's what I believe they call conscious contact, is I can truly maintain a perception or attitude is how would God see this, not me? How would God see this? And how would he explain it to me? And then all of a sudden I go to a meeting or have a private conversation or something. And then all of a sudden there it is, or I'm reading something or I look at a bird or something like that. I'll be like, oh yeah. Oh, that's how God would see it, not me. So the abandoning of self. I like myself, but I can also afford to let go of myself. So it's the top of the hour, I believe, right? Yeah. And I don't really have any final thoughts other than like, I feel calmer now. I'm still holding on. Microphones, they're a little intimidating too. I'm still holding, but one time I spoke and I was like, I'm not going to do it. And I went and sat down and like, I listened to the gossip afterwards and they're like, who does he think he is sitting down? It's like, okay, I'll go to your podium. We'll do it. We'll do it. And I came here to one meeting and the lady was just like very eloquent with her words. And so I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. Oh, I will give a parting thought. Every breath is precious. And I hope you enjoy your day, whatever you're doing, whatever you got going on. Know you're loved. I love you. We're doing okay. We made a good choice today. Even if people are angry, upset, if you made mistakes, we're beautiful. We're all God's children, Creator's children, universal children, AA children. But let's be childlike. Let's be open. Let's treat each other good, right? Give, and you'll never regret. Even if it doesn't come back the way you feel, it might not come back for 5 years, 10 years, but it always comes back. It's the universal beauty. And I call the Hojong. It's beautiful, beautiful what we're taught here. And I thank you so much for listening to me. Let me come up here. Also to offer myself out. My sponsor died 2 weeks ago, 15 years sponsor. And people are like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just like, oh, I work for hospice. I'm like, yeah, like this guy helped 1,000 people get sober and he gets to go play, whatever it is. He's probably fishing or whatever he's doing. And I'm looking for a sponsor. I need a sponsor. I also sponsor people, like let people know, I'm here. I'm in the community. I'm part of Missoula right now. And I just thank you for everybody's been kind. I see some people I've met already and feel good about that. So I love you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mick. Thanks for your beautiful nuggets. Good. There was a lot of them in there. Thank you very much. And welcome to Missoula. Glad to have you. All right, great meeting. Before closing, let us remember that anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions. On a personal level, tell anyone you wish you are an AA member. Please do not reveal the identity of anyone else. You can find an audio recording of this meeting and past speakers on our YouTube channel. Our channel is at Sunday Speaker. So the @ at Sunday Speaker. YouTube.com / at Sunday Speaker, or you can search for it on the YouTube channel. Pop right up. Are there any announcements?
About August 8th to 10th. Great Falls, I have to get the flyer.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Congratulations to our birthday people. And Mick, would you like to lead us out in the Lord's Prayer?
Who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom. Yeah, works.
Yeah.